Hi, I'm going to talk about power loss recovery. I'm using Marlin 1.9, I think it is, 1.19, whatever it is, there is there, 1.19. So it's about the latest version, well, available at the moment anyway. Want to go to config advanced.h and I would do a search, and type in power underscore loss underscore recovery, like here. Click find, and then you'll find a definition for it, all this section here. So have a read what it says. Stores the current state to the SD card. So you need an SD card, something like an LCD 12864 with an SD card in, which you probably already have. If you have a LCD 12864, you'll probably use your G code from that. So you must have a SD card. So it restores it from that and remembers the position. Now you can change the pin to detect the power loss. Just a second, my mouse is playing up here. And state whether that pin is high or low, I think, on the power loss. The easy way would probably be low, actually. Now as for pins, we need to know which sort of pin is 44. That's a pin at the moment. We might want to change that pin. I haven't took any of these out yet, so it's not going to do anything. So here I am again in configuration underscore ADV for advanced.h, configuration underscore advanced, and I've searched for power loss recovery again because I went out of that. So first of all, we need to remove the double sort of comment lines. Those are for comments. When it's got those on, it's not going to do it. So if enabled, it's not going to do anything unless you also set these. I'm going to try changing this to low, because I'm going to actually have the ramps itself tell it in a way that the voltage is gone. So that's that. Now I need to upload that to my board, up to the firmware. I'll do that offline to save you the time of watching that, but basically you need to upload this to your firmware, and then we need to wire up to a hardware wire on the actual ramps board. I'll show you that. Well, after doing those changes and compiling it, I've got this problem here. Low memory available, stability problems may occur. Yet the sketch is only using 62% of program storage. Global variables are using quite a bit, 86% of dynamic memory, sorry. 1144 bytes of local storage available. Let me comment this out again. So I'll just go on that line, and I want to recompile this to see if it is definitely that. So that's like a comment. That will comment all of that out, because it's not going to be enabled down there I won't do any other changes. I'll just ask that to upload. I'll come back when it's finished that, because it can take a few minutes to do that. Well, it's just finishing off uploading now. I'll wait until that green bar goes off. There we are, and it's not saying the same problem. So obviously putting this on it, in my case, because I am using things like servos, filament runouts, and possibly some other things, BL touch and other things as well. And all these things are taking up the memory. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to take that comment off there so that it will do this and ask it to compile again. I'll come up back when I've done that one, and we'll see if we get the same error just doing that, just as a double check. Well, as you see, even before the green's gone off there, got the low memory available problem. Stability problems may occur. I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to see what happens when I wire up the 44 pin, which I'll show you. That's on the ramps board. That's a hardware issue. So this is my ramps board. This is like the display LCD 12864 plugged in here. This side. Power connectors are over that way. Don't know if we can see them for all the wiring. Obviously we've got XYZ, and we've got extruder under this wiring. Now, quite a few of my ports are already used, but I'm not going to be using them. Pin 44 is the second from right, so it's like the bottom one in a way. Now what I intend to do is use the 5 volt. There's a 5 volt pin under here, but I'm already using that pin, so I've got like a 2 to 1 piece of wire made. Hope this works. I'm a bit dubious whether this will work because of this issue here. I haven't tested this wire, but I'm going to risk it. And I'm going to plug that into pin 44, and it also has to plug into like a 5 volt. That's for my servos and my BL touch, and my filament run out. So I've got those 3 things on those ports. So if I move these wires over a bit, here's a 5 volt pin down here. And that's just to the left of the reset button. Now be careful, because there are 2 pins there. I think on yours you might have a jumper pin here, which, as I say, there's three pins there, I think. Now in my case, as I say, I've got 5 volts coming in here through that red wire, separate from the Arduino. That's to power the servos, because you need more amperage for the servos. And that power line, there's a like circuit track going along here, going to all the servo pins, as I call them. Let me have a look at the, yes, it does say that on the like printout. I have the wiring printout. Sorry, this. See, I use a 5 volt buck converter and such like. But here's all the servo pins, marked servos. Power supply, as I say, you can see it there on the left. The stepper drive is here. Display on the right hand side. Okay. Now in my case I do have a servo port 3, 1. So what I intend to do is plug this into the 5 volts of the servo port, because they're all 5 volts down the middle track of the servo ports. Sorry if I'm pointing to the wrong place here, yeah. And then plug that into pin 44. Let me show you this printout map. Just zoom out a bit so you can see. So I've got 5 volts actually going into here. Normally you have a jumper from VCC to there. That's okay for low ampage stuff, but because I am using servos, I need a separate 5 volts going into there. So I've took off the jumper and I have a 5 volt going into this pin here, the middle pin. So I've got VCC, which is like the board 5 volts, which is too low ampage really for most, well, for some servos. But that pin there goes, I think it goes underneath the board. Come on, I'm trying to get this into focus. There we are. And goes along all this set of row of pins for the servos. So these are the servo pins up there. So all that whole row there is 5 volts. So far as I know, this is ground this way, and the top is really the signal for the servos or whatever you're using. As I say, I'm using mine for BL touch, filament runout sensor, and a servo. And the servo is used like a wiper arm to clean filament off. So I'm going to put one of these pins from this dual duplex or whatever they call them. I think those are connected together safely onto the servo port. And I can see it because the camera's right here in the way here. Actually, I'll unplug this one. Just wiggle that free. Sorry, my hands will be getting in the way. It's a little bit tight to plug in actually, because of the other plugs. Let me unplug this one next to it. Just wiggle that free. Right, that's on the middle pin. If you haven't got any servos on here, or well, anything like that that I have, then it doesn't matter which of those pins you plug it in, so long as it's in the middle row. Let me try and plug this back in, and then plug this back in here. If I can. It's a little bit tight. It's a bit hard for me to see because the camera's right on top of here. So now with this other wire, 1, 2, and the second pin from that side. So that's pin 44. Now I'm going to turn it back on. I'm going to try the same print. About the same stage I'm going to unplug it or turn it off, and we'll see if it recovers the power. First of all, I'll plug it in and turn it on. I'll let you watch the display, see if there's any changes, any faults at least. Or one thing I almost forgot to do is go to control, scroll down to restore default settings, press it, and then I'm going to just make sure do store settings and press it again. That loads in like the firmware that I've uploaded, the changes. Let me go and prepare. Is there any changes in the menu? Change filament, I would have thought it'd be, I'm not sure where it appears on the menu. I think it appears on the boot menu actually when it boots up. If you have a file that it's stored. So when it, right, that's it turned on for that 10mm cube. I'll let this get started. When it gets to about 2.5 layer height, I'll come back. I'll just fill you in on the idea here. I'm hoping that, if there's 5 volts going in here, that's coming from the power supply through a buck converter. I think it goes to 12 volts and then to the buck converter. You don't want to do that much, like mains to that, whatever it is. Doesn't matter, we've got 5 volts going in, so when that gets low, it'll trigger this pin and then it'll do the automatic save. Now how can it do an automatic save if there's no power? I haven't a clue. I'm just hoping I can rely on some capacitance in it. So as I say, I'll come back when this gets to about 2.5 layer height. Oops, it's on 6.3. I went for a cup of tea and I didn't realise it was going to go so fast, so I'm about to unplug it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All the lights go out because there are lights on the printer. Let me turn some lights on. Give it a few seconds. And I'll turn this light out because that's reflecting off the screen. I want you to be able to see the screen when I plug it back in. So getting ready to plug it in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's up as normal. And hopefully you can see that. Let me turn this other light off. Power loss recovery, resume print, stop print, that's supposed to say. My display is a little bit iffy. So I'm going to say resume print. Can you see the printer? Heat in bed. Oops. Because the bed temperature would have dropped slightly and the nozzle temperature would have dropped depending how long it's been. So that's was about 6mm, just over, and it's got 10 to go, so all together, so that's another 4mm before it finishes. I'm printing in yellow PLA. Doesn't matter what filament you're printing in using this system. In Marlin 1.1.9. 10 is just going to continue on printing. I don't know if there's going to be a pause till 10. Once it stabilises a bit, there's like a 3-degree thing in Marlin, I believe. Yep, it's moved over, it's doing a home. Is it doing a home? No, it isn't. Sort of went into the position and it seems to be continuing on printing. Now some people say this print, when it does this, it goes out of line by about 2mm. It's hard for me to tell. The display, it's saying Z is unknown. That's what the question mark means. It's almost as if it's lost the position of the Z. X and Y are okay. Let me put the lights on so you can actually maybe see the print itself. bit. I'm printing in yellow PLA. I can't really tell, not even looking in the display, whether or not that's shifted when it's done that. There certainly seems to be, it might be just reflections or what have you. I don't know. Seems to be a bit out of line there, as I can tell, but that possibly just reflections. So that's a print going. There is a crack in my glass plate, don't worry about that. I'll show you the display again. Let's turn off all the lights so it's coming up with question marks for Z. That's like an unknown position because it hasn't homed. It didn't home when it went over to left. It went over to left, the bed went right far back and it came to this corner, but it did not home down on a Z position. I get that clock in the background. I haven't got any batteries in it. Shouldn't take too long to finish off this print. It's only 10mm calibration cube. And 6 of those 10mm should already be printed basically. It's showing about halfway on the display. On the sort of bar graph here. That can be a bit unreliable, that bar graph. It's only approximation depending how much it's got to print left. Now there's no way of me knowing what level it's at on the Z axis, because it's coming back with question mark. Well, it's come back to saying 65 and then 2 question marks. Does that change at all? Let me show you that. Oops, I keep going to zoom the wrong way. And I see there it's saying 65 and then 2 question marks on the Z all the time. I'm waiting until it goes up one more thing. It's going up at all. No, I don't think Z is moving. I do not think Z is going up. I would have thought Z would have certainly gone up by now. If it was going up, I can't see you can't really tell, but the threaded rods don't seem to be moving. Every so often it should twist. Let me have a look at this. Yeah, I don't think it's going up on the Z. Well, it did say it was going to be unreliable, don't forget, in my case. Yep, looking at the print. It's building up a lot of plastic at the top there. Like a big mushroom almost, like an upside down elephant's foot. Let me just check that. Still saying the same on the display, question marks 65. Well, I might as well have bought this. I think it just might do this forever. 13. I think that has moved that has moved that bar graph. will it finish? Will it continue doing this forever? I don't want to leave it too much because it might damage the nozzle, so to speak. I'm just crouching down to make sure it's not doing that already. Now remember, I do have a servo, I have a BL touch, I have the filament run out sensor, all on the same power supply here, basically. So those might be draining the power supply. Remembering it's just a small buck converter. It's not like a high powered buck converter, I don't believe. From 12 volts to 5 volts going in that pin. Now if you've got a jumper on, you don't need that 5 volts going in that pin. You can use the jumper from VCC. I'm only using a 5 volt input for the servo power. I need more power for the servo, and my buck converter just has enough to do that, really, I think. So basically it is sort of working. It's on 15 minutes now. We have a look at this again. It'll be interesting to see how this print turns out. I think the Z is not moving at all. Let me move up. Sorry about this. If you'll keep an eye on that Z threaded rod there, you'll see that's not turning at all. Well, that sounds like it's finishing off. I can normally hear the noise of it finishing off, and the display is indicating that it hasn't got much more to go. Yet the Z has not gone up. Just leave the video a bit, put some more lights on while we wait. It's like speeded up the print now to do the top layers. That's what it's implying, and the bar graph is getting very near the end. The bar graph is about finished, or there we are, it's finished. You can possibly make out the state of the top of that. So I asked the carriage to go, well, the carriage to come forward and then carriage to go up, whatever you have. I'll pause a bit, well no I won't, because it's finished that anyway. Let's have a look at this print just now. The servo was clicking there. This is my servo wiper arm. This comes across and wipes the nozzle. It's been very good since I put this like wire brush on. So that's powered off the same circuit. The BL touch there, which gets a big thumbs up, that's powered off the same circuit, and I have a filament run out sensor. Don't know if you can see it from here. It's this blue sort of thing up here. The filament goes through there, knocks a micro switch if this filament feeding okay. All those are powered into that same port on this ramps board down here. So I might be asking a bit much to do that, and remember that when it compiled it did come back with an error saying it might be a bit sketchy in my case, probably because I do have all these extra things on my ramps board and it's pushing the storage, I think, for, well, variables. Just waiting for the bed to cool down at least a little bit. I don't like to take it off the bed too early. And there's probably quite a bit of heat in the top of that part there if the Z hasn't like gone up. Usually it comes out off the bed if I just give this just a tap like that. So this is supposed to be a 10mm cube. So the focus is pulling in. And you can see that the bottom's been alright, but when I've unplugged it, it hasn't moved the Z up, so all the plastic's been pushing down under the same level basically. So it hasn't worked 100%, but as I say, it did say it would be sketchy when it compiled. Now I could remove, say, the filament runout sensor. In my case it's going to be which do I think is more important, filament runout or power going off. Both can cause problems. I don't want to lose the servo, the wiping arm of the servo I have, because that works very well at cleaning those off, this servo arm here. I do have videos about that. I'll put some links down below. Anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this card out of here and we'll have a look on the computer, see if there's any extra files on, okay? Just show you the display as it is there now. So it's saying Z160 and the question marks as if it's lost position of the Z. I'm just trying to think a bit about that. If it's lost position then it doesn't know that it needs to go up, so to speak. That's probably the software, I imagine, one of the variables in the software. As I say, mine came back with that error I showed you. I'll show you that again here. So stability problems may occur. Okay. Now in your case you probably haven't got a servo on like I have. You might have a filament runout sensor, you might have a BL touch, I don't know. So I can't guarantee that this will work, but it seems to work to a certain fashion. Now in my case I'm actually going to leave this off. It's not very often my power goes off. I want to keep the filament runout sensor, so I'll just put those back as normal. Make sure they're saved. I'll upload them offline to the printer. I'll do that when the video is finished. So if your power supply is a bit iffy, some places you know they get brownouts and blackouts and things like that, you might want to try this option. So far as I know it's only in Marlin 1.1.9 I think I'm on. Well, make sure that it is only up to 5 volts because it is TTL voltage going into that pin 44. Here's my SD card plugged in, and yes, it has this extra file here, bin. Oops. Let me copy that actually. Now obviously you do need storage space on your SD card. Let me rename the copy, put .txt and make sure it's a text file. Double click on this. So I've just opened that text file in some other software, and so far as I know this is all it is. This was all on one line, so far as I could tell. I've just typed in a new line to something like that, just to make it a bit easier to read, hopefully. And there's some definite G0's definite command. Now I'm just looking for Z15. That's a layers, don't forget. The layer numbers supposedly, not the height. We've got 0.2 layer height, so we have to halve that. 7.5. Well, by the time I hit the, you'll probably see better on the video, that might be about right. So I'll let you have a look at this a bit. So yep, it does save a file. So presumably it saves to the file, to the SD card all the time at each layer, a position mark, and then it can recover that. If it finds this, well, the bin file, when it boots up, then it might access that. Oh yeah, the beep, that's to tell me that the bed's cooled down, but that's acting unusual. So again, that's probably in my case that I've got this low memory available, stability problems may occur.